Good afternoon. This is a video related to the live that we had this morning on using storytelling in our jobs and in our personal lives as a tool to explain things, to explain complex ideas, to make suggestions, to inspire, to persuade, to do all sorts of things. They're very useful stories. And you need language to tell them. And it's a special type of language. And Alex and I spoke about that this morning, and it got me thinking because in Dariomas we teach language. Obviously, we are a language school, and recently we have decided to focus only on, or principally on, teaching the language for leadership. So there's a couple of different problems with that for most people. Problems with understanding because of the way that things are normally understood, if that makes sense. The way things are normally explained. So there are different concepts there. There's about 3 different concepts, but let's look today at language in this particular insight. This is a leadership live insight, this little capsule. So it cannot last too long. It's short and sweet. And these capsules focus on putting into practice the ideas in the lives so that you can get an idea of what it's like to study with Dariomas or to use our self-study material, what you might learn. Okay, so this is the story, actually. And as you can see behind me, what can you see? You can see an elephant, obviously. There's an elephant. And in the original story, they aren't children touching the elephant. They aren't blind children. They are blind experts. But I like this one, and I don't know who owns the rights. If you know, please let me know so that I can contact those people. So this is a story, actually. It's an anecdote from when I was about 14, and I'll keep it short because I do tend to extend. When I was about 14, I came home one day from school and I said to my mum, and I had been studying Irish for about 10 years, and it is amazing, isn't it? I didn't speak that much of it after 10 years, which is pretty amazing. I don't know how that happened. Well, I do kind of know how that happened because my Spanish and my Portuguese have been more successful because of the way that I've learned them. But anyway, so this was the 80s, and it was taught in a very grammatical way, And I suppose I could have done the practical thing and studied Irish in the summers in the places where it was spoken, but we didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't ask. If I had asked, I would have been sent, I suppose. But that didn't happen. I didn't know I needed to do that, really. These things, sometimes things are not obvious to us, and that is, of course, what this story is about. Well, you'll see in a minute what this story is about. So I said, and my mum said, why? Why is Irish? Now I use the word stupid, which is not a very strong word in English. In Spanish, it is a very strong thing to say, especially if you say someone is that way. Yeah, right. But in English, it doesn't really mean it's not that strong. So I came in, but it does make an impact. And I said, Irish is stupid. Uh, Typical teenager thing to say, Irish is stupid, as if it were a fact. And of course, it's not stupid. It's a very old language, and it is a very interesting language, and it's also the language, the national language of the country I was born in. I didn't grow up speaking Irish. I grew up speaking English for different reasons. But my mum said, why is it stupid? That's a very strange thing to say, she said. And I said, well, look, let's look at it this way. In English, and French is not this way, I said to her, because I was already studying French. French is just much more similar to English, and I can't understand why Irish is this way. The grammar, I mean, there are 2 systems of numbers, as far as I can remember. I need to confirm that, actually, but there are 2 systems of numbers, one for counting people and another for counting things. Stupid. Sadness is upon you, as if it were some kind of a wave. Silly idea, Um, we are sad. It's not something that crashes over us as if it were the sea, or is it? Depends on how you look at it. It doesn't. there's not one way of looking at sadness. People who are depressed do talk about waves of sadness. In fact, that's something that we do say in English, waves of a particular emotion. But anyway, and then I went on, I gave other, because that's the way I am, the way I am, I gave evidence, And my mum said, well, look, there's another way of looking at this, Let me tell you the story of the elephant, the Chinese elephant. And I said, but there aren't any elephants in China, as far as I know. And she said, yes, that's the point. The first time that the Chinese saw an elephant was when they visited India. And really, people didn't know what it was because it is very, very different from any other animal that is on the planet. It's a very different thing. It's an amazing thing, actually. It's a mixture of different parts. And so, people in China were asking for a report on what this thing was because, communications, you couldn't send a photo, right? So you needed to explain, and probably using messengers, no? So they hired experts. They hired some, but they were blind. But that's the thing; they were the best. So it didn't matter if they were blind or not. They thought. What mattered was the brain. And here they are in this drawing the children of the experts, no? And the people asked, the messengers who were going to go back and bring the message to China asked, what is it? What is an elephant? How can we describe it? What's the definition? And quick, we need to get back because people are really anxious to know what this thing is. It might be dangerous. It might there might be something that that's what humans think, isn't it? With alien things, with different new things. This might be a problem for us. We might need to kill it. And so one of the children at the back leg, you can see the guy there at the back leg, not the guy behind my head, the very back leg on his knees. He said, it is a tree. In fact, it is 4 trees. This thing is a plant, he said. It feels just like a tree trunk. And then the guy at the front of the elephant said, do not listen to him because, experts, they love being right, don't they? Don't listen to him. He's completely wrong. I'm sure his hypothesis is based on something. I respect his opinion, but an elephant is a snake. I have news for you. It is actually a snake. I'm feeling it right now. It is a snake. It's a funny kind of snake, It doesn't seem to have any eyes, but it is a fascinating thing, and I'm finding out a lot about it by feeling it. And I'll give you a detailed description later on. But you might want to run back to China and tell them that it is a snake, Don't know whether it's poisonous yet, but we shall see, And they got the back with the tail, touch it. He's like, he's holding the tail like this, He says, they are both wrong. They are both wrong, though I do respect their opinion, their academic and their professional opinion. It is kind of like a snake. I will give you that. But I think it's a piece of rope. I think this thing might not even be alive. I think it might be an object, and we can use the rope. We can use it, for all sorts of things, for our ships and for tying buildings together and all sorts of things. This is great. It's a new resource for China. And so it went on, because there's others there. You can imagine all of this poor elephant, you can see it in his eyes, being reduced to bits, when really the beauty of the elephant is the whole. And it is unfortunate that the children never learned, really, the experts, never learned to work together on this one, because it would have been so easy, right? Because one of them could have been in charge of, hey, this thing is bigger than when we think, what do you think it is? And then they would have put all their different stories together and gotten something close to the truth. And I think we can look at nearly everything. And that's my opinion. Not everybody will agree with me for different reasons. We can look at nearly everything that way as an elephant. And today, let's just look at language, because we've run out of time. Language is an elephant because there are different languages. And that was what my mother was getting to. She said, listen, there are different languages. They're all different. They're different shapes and sizes. They sound different. They do different things. They have different places in the world. And Irish is that thing that we know, that exam that you have to take in order to get into university. It's difficult for us if we speak English because it is very different from English. But isn't it great? Isn't it great that we got two languages in this country? Isn't that beautiful? So instead of a source of annoyance that it is not the same as uh, English, wouldn't it be very boring if it was the same as English? You wouldn't even need to study it. Um, let's celebrate that, no? Would you like a cup of tea? And then that was the end of that. And I wasn't angry anymore. In fact, she gave me the seeds of an idea, which then I then appreciated Irish. It was a tough, taught in a very grammatical way, going line by line through a novel about an old woman whose dog stole her pipe, and there's a whole chapter on that, the dog stealing the pipe. Relevant in the 19th century, I suppose, maybe comical, but not in the 1980s. It was a bit strange. I didn't know why I was studying this. And that's the English speaking attitude towards language. In the Romance languages, that is not the attitude towards language. Language is generally form first, anyway, because you cannot speak Spanish, you cannot speak French at all, Italian as well, or Portuguese, which I'm perfecting right now, without being able to conjugate, without being able to use those tenses. They have lots of tenses. Spanish has 5, English only has 2. There are things in common. English and Spanish use the present to talk about the future a lot. And you're like, that can't be the case. We use the future to talk about the future. Well, actually, not so much in Spanish. But anyway, I'll try to find a video about that for you. And just park that idea for the moment. So languages are different. They have different focuses. In English, the focus is not on the grammar. It is on the intonation. It's in the way. Listen to my voice now. What am I doing with my voice? You don't speak Spanish like this. But in English we have this stress timed rhythm which facilitate. German has it as well, and we can do a lot of things with our voice that you can't do in Spanish because it's more limited in a sense. It's more disciplined. Every single syllable needs to be pronounced and it needs to be done to perfection, and it is a beautiful musical language, Spanish, but it doesn't have very much of the stress timing that English does have. It does have it in some places, go, that, for example, because stress timing allows you to lengthen the vowel, which is really weird in Spanish because all the vowels are exactly the same length. They have to be. That's the rule, but in English, all of the time, in every single phrase, we are lengthening the important vowel sounds. And that's a tip actually for understanding English speakers. Listen for the words we are emphasizing. That is the information that is important that we are trying to convey to you. And we do that with our voice. And we really don't do that so much in Spanish. But that's okay, because Spanish has this amazing grammar, So, something like I was talking to him. Not I was talking to him. I was talking to him. Estaba hablando con él. I was talking to him yesterday. I was talking to him. In Spanish would be estaba hablando a él. Fue a él. Because you do it with the grammar, you see? And there's a bit of emphasis there. I exaggerated because I'm an English speaker. It sounds very funny, but that's me. That's my mother tongue. And so there you go. Diversity, isn't it great? Different languages, don't get annoyed. And once you take that attitude, you will you'll learn English and you'll decide to learn a third one and a fourth one, and you'll be speaking 5, 6, 10 languages like an ex-boss of mine, and you will be empowered and you'll have a much more positive attitude towards language learning, English speakers, we do not expect perfection. We really don't. Isn't that great? That gives you the allowance as a learner of English to do kind of whatever you want, You can experiment. So keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Language for leadership. What's that? It is a type of language. There's more I could say about language. Maybe I'll do it another time. I hope it's been useful. Please put your comments in the box, your questions, your observations, and I will put this particular Leadership Lives Insight as the introductory video for my page for the channel, because that is one of people, that's the big question, isn't it? You guys are a language school. What are you doing teaching language for leadership? Well, because we teach language. Yes, but where's the grammar? You know, that's kind of the attitude, you know. And we do teach a bit of grammar. I love grammar, but I don't teach it very much, you know. And if I do teach it, I always teach the pronunciation rule that goes with it. Every grammar rule has a pronunciation rule. I know nobody's told you that. You can fix it. You can fix it. And it will be great to go back and look at all of the things that you know about English grammar, honestly, and add this new sophistication to it, you know, which will give kind of power to your grammar, you know. I can play piano. I can't play piano. Instead of, I can play piano. I can't play piano. I can play piano. I can't play piano. It's there's no difference. What's the difference, you know? And people will say, oh, it's the T. But English speakers, we don't listen for the T. We listen for the piano. I can play piano. Piano emphasized, affirmative. I can't play piano. The auxiliary verb emphasized, negative. That's another new thing, probably, right? A lot of new things in something that was much longer than it was supposed to be. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I hope it was useful. Un abrazo.